In the previous episodes, Thrawn has decided that the Galactic Empire is not sustainable. Thrawn and his fleet attempt to defect, but are intercepted by Admiral Sloane and her fleet. In spite of the technological shortcomings, Sloane is no match for Thrawn. Sloane warns Thrawn at the end of the battle that Darth Vader would likely be his next opponent. Admiral Ozzel watched eagerly as the Victory Star Destroyer ran from his fleet into the junk field beyond. "Looks like we have a straggler," he comments to Captain Nita. "Yes, it's the same Victory that Thrawn captured from Admiral Sloane, in need of repairs, no doubt. Intel reports that Thrawn's fleet is in there." The fourth planet of the Kithra system was one of hundreds of junk planets known in the galaxy. In the past, sometimes ancient past, planets such as this were centers of industrial power. In their decline, they become interstellar dumping grounds, but still have value if the proper salvage and refining techniques are used. The vast junk field enveloped the outer orbit of the planet. Beyond the field in the upper atmosphere, the space was relatively clean. Large ships could only navigate through larger passages or channels through the space junk. The Death's Head squadron had arrived ahead of Darth Vader. Thrawn was sure to engage it, and after fully committing to the fight, Vader would bring in the Executor, the Super Star Destroyer. Thrawn's fleet was reported to be using the salvage field to expedite repairs. The Victory Star Destroyer made for the small passage in the junk field, just wide enough for about 6 Star Destroyers. Admiral Ozzel focused on catching and hopefully recapturing the enemy ship above all other matters. "Take us in, Captain. Don't let that ship escape." The Avenger, accompanied by 9 other Imperial Star Destroyers, pursued the ship into the passage of space junk. The situation looked perfect to Ozzel. His task force would proceed beyond the debris belt to engage Thrawn's meager forces, and Vader would come in from behind, block the passage, and prevent any of Thrawn's ships from escaping. "Be sure the hyperspace exit coordinates for Vader's ships are as close to the passage as possible." Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Executor, Captain Piet's blood began to rise when he noticed Darth Vader descend into the crew pit near the communications station.
"Admiral Ozzel is sending a message,"
Vader said. Yet no message had been received. Piet looked puzzled. "My lord?" As if in answer to Vader's assertion, a ping from the comms console rang out. Taken aback by Vader's precognition, Piet nodded to activate the hologram. "Lord Vader, we have spotted and engaged Thrawn's fleet. I am sending microjump calculations for the Executor that will prevent their escape. There is a heavy debris field. ETA to jump is 30 seconds.
"Good. Captain Piet, make sure the targeting profiles for debris fields are loaded. Thrawn will try to make it difficult for us to obtain target locks."
Piet relayed the appropriate orders while Vader returned to the command deck. 30 seconds later, stars turned to lines outside the viewport as the Executor jumped to hyperspace.
"Attack immediately upon exiting hyperspace,"
Vader ordered. This was Vader's signature maneuver, to attack with overwhelming force and lightning speed. The Executor exited hyperspace right into the debris field, in the perfect position to block the narrow passage. Enemy ships were identified quickly, and turbolaser shots immediately flew out from the Executor. The anticipated targeting issues were not a problem thanks to the targeting software. Satisfied with the crew, Captain Piet joined Vader to observe the battle outside the bridge viewports. An excited crewman from the communications console said, "Sir, ship-to-ship communications have been jammed. The source appears to be the debris field." Piet cursed and said, "Identify the sources and destroy them." Piet noticed that Vader stood as still as a statue, the respirator piping slowly, as if the Sith Lord were in thought. Vader unfolded his arms and ponderously stooped forward to examine the carnage beyond the viewport.
"I see only a dozen ships. Where is Ozzel's task force?"
Vader was right. There was not enough ships to account for Thrawn's fleet and Ozzel's bait task force. Already 2 of Thrawn's Star Destroyers were damaged beyond repair, and his fleet seemed to be in a state of disarray with no sign of counterattack. "Sir, the jamming is subsiding. We are getting a signal from Ozzel." Through the static, Ozzel's voice could be heard. "Cease fire! Cease fire! Executor, You are firing on friendly targets! Cease fire! Captain Piet practically ran to the crew pit while screaming at them to cease fire.
Captain!
Vader loomed behind Piet, who gulped in fear.
Show me the targeting profile that you loaded.
Yes, my lord. Here it is. It is supposed to be the most intuitive and popular targeting package available for fighting in debris fields such as this. It has been for a year now. The targeting software package's designation and author appeared on the display. Says here it's TT5, Thrawn 2.23 by Grand Admiral Thrawn. Piet's face went white. With a swipe of his cape, Vader turned back to the command deck and said,
A year in planning. Turn the ship around.
The helmsman worked frantically. What's the problem, helmsman? Piet asked, tension rising. We are hemmed into this passage and cannot turn without impacting the debris. I have to use reverse thrusters. Do it then, Piet snapped. Behind the executor, hundreds of pieces of debris suddenly were alight with little red flames. They swarmed into the gap behind the executor. Sir, the debris is cutting us off. Looks like thrusters have been put on them. Finally, a new fleet of 10 Star Destroyers exited hyperspace behind the executor.
There you are, my old Chiss friend,
Vader said ominously. Thrawn's fleet was now in the perfect position to concentrate fire on the stern of the executor and disable the ship. Sir, we are receiving a transmission for Vader. It's Admiral Thrawn. Vader, with surprising leisure, walked to the comm station near the back of the bridge and activated the hologram. The activity on the bridge fell silent as the crew edged to listen to the conversation. For a scrutinous moment, Thrawn examined Vader with his red eyes. He began to speak with a mild grin. Vader, your reputation for killing your own men precedes you. After a few tense breaths from Vader's respirator, he responded.
Impressive, Thrawn. You lure our most incompetent admiral away, and as usual, seek to win a battle with minimal losses on both sides. Perhaps you value the art of war more than the savage reality of it.
Thrawn's eyebrows assented. Intriguing. You speak as if you have not yet lost. I am perfectly able and willing to destroy you, but why destroy a potential ally? We all know you despise being a slave to the Emperor. Join me, Vader. Together, you and I are more than capable of replacing the Emperor and quelling the rebellion. We must secure the galaxy before it is too late.
The Emperor is my master, and I have no need of you if I ever choose to replace him.
Vader cut the transmission.
Captain Piet, ready fighters to sweep the debris field and get the executor clear, and ready my fighter as well.
The ensuing battle turned into a fiery mess. Some of the debris chunks had been outfitted with proton bombs. When the debris exploded, shrapnel shredded the TIE fighters. Thrawn deployed a massive fighter screen that waited for anything to get through the debris, and easily mopped up any of the Executor's fighters that made it through the shrapnel hell. Thrawn's Star Destroyers were pelting the Executor with turbolasers, but it would take a while before serious damage was done. The Executor also could not turn to focus its frontal firepower on any of Thrawn's ships. There was one group of fighters that did manage to punch through, though. Guided by the Force, Vader led a small squadron of TIE fighters through the fray and made their way towards the Chimera, Thrawn's flagship. Sir, we don't have enough firepower to take their shields down. One of Vader's wingmates seemed a little fearful.
There is a way to get through. Do not be afraid. I have your controls.
The TIE Defender moved ahead of Vader's own TIE Advance, while Vader stayed within a man's length behind the other ship. This was a maneuver normally impossible by most standards. Vader used the Force to seize control of the TIE Defender's stick, boosted shield power, and pointed the ship at the Chimera's bridge.
We only need find the right turbolaser bolt, which gives us a narrow opening at the Chimera's shield barrier. Unfortunately, you will need to make the ultimate sacrifice for this maneuver to succeed.
Thrawn wasted no time directing the Chimera's laser fire toward the incoming pair of fighters. Guided by the Force, Vader ran the TIE Defender into a turbolaser. For a split second, the Star Destroyer's shields would open slightly to let the turbolaser bolt go through. the explosion of the TIE Defender would open that hole a little bigger. The sacrificial pilot screamed, and Vader's ship darted through the fiery breach. On the bridge of the Chimera, Vader's TIE fighter could be seen headed directly toward the viewport. For the first time in the battle, Thrawn flinched slightly, as Vader's TIE passed just over the viewport and impacted somewhere above the bridge. A nearby officer commented that Vader had missed.
"Oh no, he hasn't. Send extra security to the bridge. Sear the blast doors. Sound intruder alert,"
Thrawn ordered quickly. Sirens went off. The heavy blast doors sealed them into the bridge. "No one is getting through that, not even Vader," one of Thrawn's officers commented. Someone screamed, "Look!" and pointed at the ceiling. A crimson beam cut a nice molten circle through the ceiling plates. Thrawn gestured for all the stormtroopers to cover the molten opening. When the Dark Lord descended into the center of a circle of laser fire, 3 clean sweeps of his lightsaber sent most of the laser bolts back to their origins. All around Thrawn, stormtroopers and men were smashed against walls. They were sliced in two by hurling lightsabers. Bones were crushed. Bodies began to line the decks of the bridge. In the midst of it all, Thrawn stood calmly, with his hands clasped behind his back. When virtually everyone on the bridge was dead except Thrawn, Vader approached and faced him, lightsaber in hand and still humming.
"You were right, Vader. Savagery serves certain people well, but I could never quite make it work,"
Thrawn comments as if studying some kind of intriguing plant.
"You fight well, Thrawn, but with the disadvantage of not knowing the Force. I see you have no more tricks. No amount of planning can prepare you for the chaos that a Sith Lord can wield against you."
"Perhaps," Thrawn says with a slight bow of his head.
"I only hope that you will do what is necessary to safeguard the galaxy, and I believe the Emperor will fail." "Leave that to me, Thrawn,"
Vader says and raises his lightsaber. He pauses as if giving Thrawn a moment to prepare for his fate. Thrawn closes his eyes, opens them wide, and nods at Vader. With a clean lightsaber strike, Thrawn falls to the floor, and the glow in his eyes goes dark.
"It is done, my master."
Vader kneeled before the giant hologram of the Emperor, who undoubtedly had already received the reports of Thrawn's demise. "A pity. I was rather fond of Thrawn. But he was too dangerous to be allowed to live. Perhaps in time we will also make an example of the Chiss homeworld to prevent further betrayal," the Emperor said.
"We must root out the rebels first."
"Yes, of course. Death Squadron is at your command, Vader. Find the rebel base and destroy it." "As you wish, my master." When Vader returned to the bridge, Captain Piet informed him that he had received a coded message, text only.
"Send it to my personal computer,"
Vader ordered. The message was sent to the computer in Vader's helmet, ensuring that only Vader's eyes would see it. The message read as follows. "Have reason to believe Rebel base is in the following areas indicated in this message. Probe droids are likely to find it quickly. Luke Skywalker is among them. Find your son and destroy the Emperor. I will be ready. Signed, Thrawn." "Did it hurt when the clone died?" The pirate Commodore Raxilian had a silly grin on his face when he approached Thrawn, who stood erect, full of vitality and in perfect health, hands clasped behind his back in the customary Thrawn pose. He peered out of the bridge of the viewports of the Chimera.
"It was fascinating. I felt everything the clone felt, so yes, it was quite painful when the lightsaber opened up my chest."
Well, I'm surprised he didn't lop your head off. A shame so many of your bridge crew were killed," Raxilian said with a sigh. "But I'm glad I found those things with the tech that allowed you to control the clone."
"Correct, Commodore, and we must study the technology as much as we can, especially if we are to have any hope of defeating it. Historical studies have shown that this has occurred more than once throughout galactic history, and perhaps it occurs in other galaxies as well. We're on the brink of the catastrophe happening again."
Well, I'll help you to fight it as usual. Where to now, Thrawn?
You may go where you wish, Commodore. I am not your keeper, nor could I be even if I tried. Sometimes I envy your freedom, but some old warriors are bound by duty. I must go to what you know as the unknown regions and prepare.
Thanks for watching, Space Friends. Please feel free to subscribe, like, and comment. And consider supporting the channel on Patreon at patreon.com/resurrected. Also, if you haven't seen the previous episodes in this storyline, check out the link to the playlist at the end of this video.